Hi Majella, how you going?
I'm well. It's good to be here today.
Awesome to have you here today. So we're talking to you today about what's important to you in your life. Again, we've already had this conversation, but this is going to be a totally different conversation. So tell me a little bit about you. What's your background? Where did you grow up? What was that like?
Yep. So I grew up here in Brisbane. I was actually born in rural Queensland. I was born in Charleville, so I was an outback baby. Moved here when I was 4, and so I grew up in Brisbane. Lived on the Bayside, loved being by the water, love the culture and outdoor life here. When I was 17, moved to Canberra for professional sport. So I was an Olympian, and I played at a professional elite level for 7 years in Canberra, and it was great, but the climate actually in Canberra was very depressing. 6 months of the year it would be dark, cold, grey, foggy, frosty. So we moved back here about 5 years ago, and I'm loving it.
What's your sport?
So it was women's volleyball. So
Fantastic.
I grew up playing a lot of sport. I was an outdoor kid, climbing trees, running, swimming, basketball, soccer, football, did all the sports. But volleyball is the one that really stuck with me. Yeah.
And how did you get into volleyball?
When I was 13 and 14, we moved to Sweden. My mum's Swedish, and because it snows there during winter, you either do outdoor sports like ice hockey or ice skating, or you do indoor sports. So I was first introduced to volleyball over there, which is great.
Wow, that's fantastic. So what are you up to now?
So I'm working on my own startup called Sortal. The company is actually called Art Life Solutions, and it's about documenting your life or curating your life as if it were a work of art.
So how did you get started with Sortal? Why did you do it?
So 5 years after moving back to Brisbane, I started studying arts psychotherapy because I needed a career change. I needed to do something different. I was a bit over the corporate world. I'd been a public servant for many years. But having worked at National Gallery, National Library, it was all about human interaction and human history, and I think art psychotherapy was a really great way for me to then take what I knew to help people in a therapeutic environment and help people work through trauma and issues. So through studying arts psychotherapy, I was introduced to the neuroscience of memory and how people respond to the emotional parts of their life, and the images and the video and the narration that goes with that. And that then got me onto the tangent of Sortal and managing digital information. It's essentially digitising therapy in a lot of ways, or digitising information management to do with people. Yeah, so I find there's definitely an intersection there between how we think and remember information and how digitisation can apply in that space. Yeah.
Wow, that's so interesting. that's fascinating. So what's important to you and your life?
So I'm a mum of 3. My oldest is 11. He's 12 next year, and he will move into high school, which is quite a really big change for my whole family, basically. So he's kind of leaving those childhood years and into the teenage, even adult years, really. So time with my children is really important at the moment, because I know, and I've heard from parents everywhere, that by the time they're teenagers, they don't want to spend time with you anymore. So I'm kind of soaking up whatever attention I can get from him at the moment, and I really have reclaimed my weekends to spend time with them. We're always outside, we're always doing stuff together, we're always together as a family, just to make the most of the years that we have yet left of those childhood years.
Yeah. So I'm curious, so what is it about becoming a teenager that has you think that they're not going to want to spend time with you anymore?
I have 3 very strong-willed children, and I can just see their behaviour magnified through the teenage years. But I also know it's a time in someone's life where they're trying to figure out who they are, and there's this saying that you're influenced by the 5 people you spend the most time with. And as teenagers, it's usually their teachers and their classmates that they spend the most time with. So, and I remember being a teenager and wanting freedom, and mum and dad weren't cool anymore. And yeah, so I know it's coming, and I just want to make sure there's a strong relationship there so we can weather that storm later.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And as a mum of 3 teenage boys, I totally get it.
Yeah. We speak the same language here.
Yeah, I mean, we're going through that with my youngest at the moment, and it's definitely a lot more of a tempest than it was with the other 2.
Yeah.
it's amazing though. Like they do come out the other end, which is
Yeah.
the good news.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's have a look at that. So you're wanting to make sure that family bond is just like rock solid. So what does that look like in your day-to-day life?
It's not just the family bond, it's also setting them up with the skills that they're going to need. So my husband and I, we're very big on teaching the kids how to think. And we constantly challenge them about the world around them and like, what do you think about that? And they listen to kids ethic podcasts, and we want to make sure that when they are placed in a teenage environment where there is bullying, for example, that they're able to navigate that in their own way. And so it's giving them the skills that they're going to need to get through the hormonal years, really. But as a family unit, I want to make sure that they know they can always come to us. So if they've experiencing that through their childhood, where they can always come and talk to us, and just have that in place, really.
And what does that look like for you as a family?
So we spend a lot of time together on weekends. We always eat together every night. There's a concept in our family of how have you helped the family today. So it's just doing chores. Like, pocket money exists, but there's still things that they just have to do to help the family and be together and understand that that's just part of life. There's things you just need to do. So we cook together, we sit down as a family, the 5 of us, we eat together, we clear the table, do dishes, make lunches. So just bringing in those day-to-day things into a family experience. We've taught them how to do their own laundry, how to fold their own clothes, clean your room, look after your belongings. So in family life is about teaching them the skills, but also doing stuff together.
That's fantastic. So what in your life has influenced you to be so intentional about that? Because that's, in my experience, that's not a usual family experience. Like, we're all a bit chaotic sometimes, and I know in my family it's a bit like that, right? As much as I'd love to be like that,
I think the chaos will come when they're teenagers. They'll have their own schedules, bedtimes will be later, they'll be off doing their own things after school. I think the chaos will come, but we're just trying to give them the skills before that happens. But in terms of like my upbringing and my husband's upbringing, like, we were both very independent from a young age. So I moved out of home when I was 17 to live at the AIS for professional sport. I travelled the world. I had to work a job to have any kind of income. So my first job was when I was 15, a paid job where it was at Silvio's Pizza, which got bought by Domino's Pizza. So like, I've always held down a job. I've always learned about the world around me, and my husband's the same. So he started working when he was 14, and he's always had a job ever since. He didn't even go to uni until he was late 20s because he was working that whole time. So I think like our own teenage years and early adult years have played a huge part in that. How we parent and how we value what's important to us.
That's really cool. So with your career, like, you're the CEO of a company, how do you find that impacts on that family dynamic?
It's hard because my husband's also in a fairly high profile job himself, so juggling the family commitments during the week is very challenging for us. We have a massive chalkboard in our kitchen that we have the month and all the stuff that's happening and who's got events when and who's travelling when, and just to make sure that we've got that coverage with the kids. I draw on my mum and dad a lot because they live in Brisbane. They help out with babysitting when we need to. But in terms of like after work activities, like when there's meet-up groups in the evening, often I can't go because of childcare requirements.
Yeah, I totally get that.
There's only so many favours my mum and dad will do for me.
Well, that's all, like, they're obviously important to you as well, and it's all inside of maintaining that balance, hey? Wow. Okay, so in your life, like, are there any specific events or people that have really influenced what matters to you?
My dad has been a huge influence, as has my mum, but there was a time when I wanted to quit professional sport. It was just too hard, and I was hysterical. I was crying. I was like 18, and I was back in Brisbane. I visited my family, and I'm like, I'm not going back. I'm not doing it anymore. And Dad's like, nope, I'm driving you to the airport. You're getting on that plane, and you're going back there, because if you don't, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. And sure enough, he dragged me to the airport the next day. I was on the plane and I was back in a very challenging environment of professional sport. And this was before I was announced on the Olympic Australian team. So that was a really pivotal moment in my life where it would have been easy to quit. But my dad was there to give me the strength when I was feeling very weak. Yeah. So
That's good for you.
He knew what was best for me at the time, and he was absolutely right, because if I did quit, I wouldn't have gone to the Olympics. I wouldn't have had that experience. And so it's a very pivotal moment, and I regularly look back on that when I need resilience and when I need some strength. We will get through it. It might be tough, but you'll get through it. Yeah.
Do you find that as a parent you're often called upon to do things like that with your own kids, like maybe not to that extreme, but and it may not feel comfortable, or it may feel almost like you're taking something away from them sometimes, but you have this real sense of, well, no, I'm a parent and this is the right thing to do. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And again, coming back to giving my kids the skills they're going to need to be functional teenagers and adults, we have kind of a concept of one hard thing. And every year the kids have to commit to something for an entire year, because it's so easy for kids to kind of tune out, get bored, don't want to do it anymore, it's a bit tough. So my son tried, he joined the music program and learnt percussion and drums, and he wanted to quit, and we said, no, you get through this year, and if you still don't want to do it at the end of the year, then you can quit. Same with my daughter. She was doing hip hop and dancing, and there were times where she's wanted to quit. We're saying, no, you've committed to this. You're still going to do it for the whole year, and then at the end of the year we reassess, and then so extracurricular activities I think are important. I mean, we don't have a lot of money, and it's only one thing each, but that's been really important as parents, to teach them to get through the hard times, because there are better times on the other side of that.
Yeah.
And I think there's this concept of instant gratification, and kids they expect things to happen straight away, and why isn't it happening yet? And they've got to understand that it's a long journey to get good at something, so they've got to get through that hardship before they get into seeing that improvement. We've had to put our foot down a lot around that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I think it's that whole concept of like versus love. If we want people to like us, we'll just agree with them and let them do whatever they want. But if we actually love them, then we'll actually stand for who they are and what their potential is.
That's it. Yeah. And we know that we have to provide a range of different experiences, because they need like a little sampling plate, like to try different things to figure out who they are. Because in the early days, they're served so much information through TV, through iPad, through interactive games. They're served stuff. They're not necessarily out there experiencing it. So for us, we've tried to, we take them out on weekends, we go to the library a lot, we read on different topics. We're trying to expose them to lots of different things to help them on that journey.
It's fantastic. So before I asked you this question, has anyone ever asked you this question before?
Not in those terms. Yeah, it's we hear this talk of values. What are your values? What's your integrity? What are your morals? You hear conversations around that, but not necessarily what's important to you in your life, because it kind of unpacks it a little bit further. Yeah.
So who in your life do you think would benefit from being asked this question?
I think at this stage my mum, because she's retired now and she's feeling a little lost, and she's at this point in her life where she needs to kind of reassess what is important to her. Because she was a teacher for 30 years. That's not there anymore. And she's faced with all this time, and she's feeling a little depressed about the whole thing. So she needs to understand, well, she has freedom. What can she do with that freedom? What's important to her?
That's awesome. Is there anything else you wanted to add before we wrap up?
I'm good.
Thanks so much, Majella.
All right, thank you.
It's been fascinating as always.
Thank you.